Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awkward Conversations. We are Seth and Sandra Dunn, and we like to come to you in these videos with topics that are a bit challenging and difficult, sometimes between us, sometimes in our culture, and sometimes among us as Christians. So today's topic, I'm not sure if we landed on a great title, but self-discipline was kind of the concept. And here's specifically, and shape this if you see a little different angle, but I see areas of life where I feel like it's tempting to take the easy out.
Yes.
And
often.
Right? and that, I suppose, troubles me, and I don't hear a lot of conversation around it. So let me give a couple of examples to kind of shape the concept here. When it comes to finances, there are some big voices out there that have a lot of amazing stuff to say that I highly respect. But one of the concepts that I see come, I won't use the name, but he's an amazing man and he's doing way more good than bad. So this isn't an attack, if you know who I'm talking about, on an individual. But there's a concept out there, for example, that don't use any credit cards. You know, just don't even touch them. Almost like it's this concept that like they're evil. I look at that and I'm like, as a guy that loves finances and digs into them a lot, and you know, I aspire to grow and learn and do a good job with them and so forth. I feel like to say don't ever use credit cards. The reason people do that is because so many people get into trouble with credit cards. So from that standpoint, I understand it, but I feel like it's the easy out because we don't want to teach self-discipline or develop self-discipline because it's an effort, right?
Yeah. It's almost like we're not 2 years old.
Right.
At 2 years old, am I going to remove the candle from in front of a playing 2-year-old? Yes.
Yes.
They're 2.
Absolutely.
They don't get fire. They don't get hot. I mean, they get hot. They don't understand heat. They don't,
They're never hot.
Right? Like, they don't get it. So
Right.
take it away. Yes.
Right.
And I think that's the thing, like in that scenario,
Right.
if you have a problem with a credit card,
Yeah.
and you know that, sure, take it away. Get yourself
I agree.
disciplined. Help yourself learn some things.
Yes.
Help yourself figure some things out.
Right.
And then use a credit card in order to benefit from all the extras you can get from a credit card.
And thank you. That's the point. That in these areas, it's more work and takes some time to do the hard work and to change your mindset, your belief system, to renew that mind. It takes effort and time, but you get to the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, like you just gave a great example. I mean, we use credit cards. We never carry a balance. I never pay a penny in interest. You know, there's no cost to us using a credit card because we've learned how to do it.
He says we, which is very gracious and kind, because I'm at about like a 23-year-old on learning how to handle the credit card. I paid $10 in interest not too long ago.
Well, okay, that's going to talk
I'm
about
learning.
awkward. We're going to have a conversation.
I am learning. But
we have had
that's the point.
Literally, I am not exaggerating here, thousands of dollars in free flights.
Flights.
Because we've learned how to use them well.
You know,
Right.
Just side note, people
Yeah.
watch our lives and they
do.
think we have loads of money. And we don't. It's that this guy has learned how to work the system.
Oh my goodness, I get free flights. We get free lodging.
Free
we have a
lodging,
way
free
that we've
flights.
had literally, again, thousands of dollars in free lodging. So we've been able to do vacations, and even some of our ministry business kind of trips are funded, you know, in a lot of ways by this, right?
Yes.
So let's point it in other directions.
Yes.
I think that there are some, from what I've never had a need, so I've never looked at them, but there are some resources out there, for example, there's notifications and so forth. There's probably apps that will notify you or a accountability partner if you say visit a porn site. I don't think that's a bad tool.
Right.
If you need it, put it into action, but put it into action as an opportunity then. You should be able to navigate this life and not go do those things.
Yeah. And again,
and if you need it, use it as a medication, or short term.
right, short term
to
that you're
do
going
the work.
to get off of. Yeah.
Right.
Because that's the beauty of what we've been promised in the gospel
Yes.
is the ability to grow and change and affect our hearts in such a way that we don't have to keep repeating the same foolishness
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
that we are geared to, and we all
Right.
have our own thing, right? We
Oh,
are all,
absolutely.
we all have those areas, and the idea of the gospel
Yeah.
is transformation,
Absolutely.
renewal,
Yeah. Right.
change.
And that's why I understand this could get awkward even for me. I mean, I'm sitting here right now. I'll use another example. I have on my phone an app that helps me track my calories and so forth. I think it's ridiculous that I need that, but I'm sitting here 20 pounds overweight. Obviously, I haven't figured it out. So it's not like I'm not saying we've got it all together.
Right.
Because
right.
I'm sitting here going, I need this assistance.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't want is to have that long term.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't need assistance in other areas. So there is no shame
Yes.
whether it's a porn issue, a financial issue, a weight issue, alcohol. My goodness, get the help and use the tools you need. But could we please? And I'm saying to myself, get to the good stuff. You were just unpacking that pretty well, that there's something beautiful about being able to navigate life and navigate an area and get to those amazing sweet spots of transformation, because Jesus made the way for us to live literally with the very life and heart and image and character and viewpoint of God. All of that is in us, and it can come out in all these areas. And then we don't need that assistance.
Yeah.
It's so worth pushing through.
Yeah.
I've got those areas where I want to get there. I've got those areas where I'm there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep pushing. For me, I want to get back down to that weight that is healthy for me. And I want to live there. And I want to live there with the strength of having shaped my heart, shaped my belief system, and learned the skill sets that I need to be there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe this doesn't feel awkward, but I bet it does for some people, because you realize you're struggling.
Yeah.
And maybe you're just putting up with, well, I just have to have this app, this assistance, this whatever.
Mm-hmm. And again, not that those things are bad or
No.
We laughed about, because when we were whatever age and we're raising our children, right? And the new cars that were coming out ages ago had child locks on the windows. So you could, at the driver's seat, push the button, lock all the windows so the kids can't roll the windows down. And Seth and I both were like, what? No, you teach your kid, don't push the button while we're driving. Like, you don't just take away the choice.
Right.
You teach them how to be wise, how to be safe, and that's essentially what we're saying here is like teaching yourself how to follow wisdom, how to think the way God thinks, how to believe what Father has said is ours. Galatians, I was just thinking, Galatians 5:22. Most everybody who's been a Christian for more than 5 years probably knows this verse. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you say, okay, if that's the fruit of the Spirit, we joke around and say, I don't have that. That's not in me. Patience. I'm asking God for patience. The fruit of the Spirit, like if you are a believer and the Spirit of God lives on the inside of you, that fruit is in you.
Yeah.
So now it's not, I don't have it. Now it's, how do I begin to actually believe? And in the Hebrew, there's no separation from believing and doing. In the Hebrew language and culture, if you believe, you do. And so for us as Americans, we have that separation of, I believe that. It's not showing up, right? There's an understanding of, if I'm going to believe I have these fruits in my life, those fruits are going to show up.
Right.
So again, how do I
good.
renew my mind and get my soul to comprehend what the scripture says is
Right.
true?
Right.
How do I help my soul grab hold of that and go, oh,
Hmm.
and then that becomes this effortless evolving, this effortless change of seeing those things come to pass.
Right. Right.
And all of us, like we said, all of us have certain
Sure.
areas where that's a very difficult thing,
Sure.
right? And so it
Yeah.
really is about renewing the mind.
Mhm.
I would say convincing the heart
Yeah.
of what's true,
Right.
because it's so easy to go, that's not true because that's not what I see, that's not what I'm experiencing.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I understand it's not true, it's not present in your reality right now, but that doesn't mean it's not truth.
Right.
So then how
So
do I begin to get that truth?
Keep doing that work. Keep
settled?
pushing in there. Yeah. Keep soaking in the word and meditating on it
Yeah.
and rolling it around. And, I think an example that might be a little bit too much meddling, so I'm going to go there for sure, would be with parenting. I hear now our kids are older, so we're not in the middle of this right now. So parents right now have some challenges that we didn't face, but there were there's always challenges.
Right.
There's always been challenges with parenting specifically. I mean, with all areas of life, but with parents right now, the big debate would be, well, when is my child going to have a phone, and specifically a smartphone, right? And I hear a lot of parents, that do things like, well, my kid's not going to have one until they're 16. I just won't even put the temptation in front of them. And I'm like, that's the easy out.
And
How
that
about
would be
you
my
give one
temptation.
to
I've
them?
even said that. Well, maybe just don't give them a phone until they're 16. And then we start talking about this.
Well,
and I'm like, oh.
Well, right, because then what does that child do? You give them one at 16. You've taught them no self-control, no skill sets around it. You haven't provided a safe place. I mean, that was one of the things with our kids that we did really right is, we told them, listen, you're going to be in charge now. There were certain points where we would say, okay, now you're in charge of your laundry. You're in charge of buying your clothes. You're in charge of whatever, right? I mean, there were things along the way. And the whole idea, and I think they knew this, I'm pretty sure we communicated, is, listen, we want you to get out there. We want you to figure out how to do this. And if you do well, great. But if you fail, all right, come tell us and let's walk it through together, right? So, with something like a cell phone, once they're 16, they're an adult in a lot of ways. They should already know how to handle that.
Yeah.
And the dangers of it and so forth. But also, again, reap the benefits and the rewards. If I was parenting a teenager now and they turned 16 and they were driving, I would totally want them to have a phone and totally know how to use it. Partly for the navigation, but also for the communication. Hey, Dad, I'm running a little late, or hey, I need help here, or whatever.
Right.
I would want them to be able to do that quick and easy because the technology allows it. And so train them how to do it, how to stay away from the bad sides. Because they're always there and they've always been there.
Yeah.
It's just different.
I would say
today.
just on this topic real quick, which this isn't really, we've veered off
We have.
self-discipline, but
Yeah, a little bit.
just real quickly on the idea of kids and cell phones, our son said, well, I want my daughter, she's growing up in an era where technology is a big deal.
Yep.
Like you need to know how to use technology.
Right.
And I want her to grow up in that era and be wise about how to use it, about how it works, about what you can and can't do with it and all of that. And
Right.
I thought, gosh, again, that's wisdom in thinking through
It's the harder way.
preparing your child for a career, preparing your child for adult life in this era that we're in.
Right.
And so rather than just no cell phone, the other problem is if you say no cell phone, and this is what I had somebody say to me the other day as well, that I was like, oh, is kids without a cell phone are so backwards, right? Or like what we used to see homeschool kids just be so backwards and awkward. They're
Yeah.
so backwards because they have no clue about any of it that they become bullied and outcast at school. Now, okay, you can figure out how to handle bullying, hopefully.
Yeah.
But
Right.
all I'm saying is I also don't want my kid to be so backwards that they're, a social pariah kind of thing.
Right.
So
Right.
then it's also good for them to have it. So how about we teach them how this works, what to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go,
Yeah.
rather than just these hard, fast rules of, okay, well, we'll just take that away. We just won't do that,
Right.
And our culture,
Yeah.
even our government these days is very much, well, just do this and that'll stop that. That's not how we change. It's not how
It's
we
not.
grow.
It's not, and honestly, I realize this is potentially a very awkward conversation, and you may right now be kind of offended, at maybe some of these thoughts and concepts. The idea behind these videos is not to give you all the answers and solutions, and there's so
Just
many.
to get you
It's just
really
to get you
annoyed.
thinking. And if you are, yes, just to get you annoyed. If you are annoyed by some of this, it might be worth your time to just challenge your own thought process and belief system in it. I bumped into I don't actually know this family very well. It's a friend of mine, so I'm going off, third-hand information. So it may or may not be accurate, but I think the point is accurate. But their kids are becoming adults, and they've so insulated them from everything that now those kids, can I use the words, are becoming hellions. Because they're becoming adults and they're getting freedoms.
Okay.
And they're going out there now having, like you just said, having had no real training on what the world is like and how it's working these days.
Yeah.
And so now they're just going crazy and getting into all kinds of messy stuff, and it hasn't served them well. So I just think for us personally, as well as as a parent, but maybe even as an employer, I mean, there could be any number of places where in ministry, there are places where it's worth pressing in and doing the work and encouraging and challenging in a good way others to do the work to get to the good stuff of self-control, the good stuff of wisdom, self-discipline, the good stuff of your heart being confident and set to where you're just not even tempted to go into those bad patterns or habits or behaviors or whatever, because you've got the strength behind it to not, right?
Do you know there are people who have patterns and routines that they do every single day of their life, no matter what? And that concept for me is like, what? Because I like to wake up and just kind of wing it and do whatever, be free. But what I realized is if we can set some things up that we do these things every day, no matter what, that one helps us be disciplined, but two, that's where growth actually happens. That's where growth actually comes. Is those repetitive actions, something like a gratitude journal where you just set your timer and spend 3 minutes, just bullet points of things you're thankful for. And not thankful for in the last, 25 years, thankful for in the last 24 hours. So some things like that.
That's good.
Reading your Bible. Having a time of worship. Having prayer, what else? Meditation, physical discipline, going to the gym, like those kind of routine things is really what builds that discipline and helps you then further your discipline in other areas.
Right.
So I think that's
good.
part of it too, is just like picking 2 or 3 things that you're like, I'm going to do this every day, no matter what. And when you do that, then it's going to help encourage discipline in other areas that you need it. I think that's just a practical of start the process of letting that fruit of self-control, self-discipline come forth.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I think routine.
And even if it's hard for you, it's worth it. And it actually does provide more freedom.
Yeah, it does, because strength becomes stronger. I started into that sentence and thought, that's not going where I want it to go, but we're on video. What am I going to do with it? Strength becomes stronger. No, it does. It brings strength in, and that just becomes a very beautiful thing. It really does. So, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you've heard us say that there's nothing wrong with the tools, with the assistant methods.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with those at all. In fact, I encourage you to use them.
Growing.
But use them. Use them for that point of growth, not as an excuse.
Your training wheels are off your bicycle. And you can actually just ride.
Exactly. And then And maybe you don't ride 40 miles that first day. Maybe it's 10 feet.
Yeah.
But begin to step out and begin to test and try what it's like to live outside the boundaries of those tools. Because you're walking in wisdom and the safety of a God viewpoint on things and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope you've heard that in our hearts here, that take the work towards taking the training wheels off, and life is better in those spots. So I guess that's it, huh? You got any other thoughts? All right.
I have lots of thoughts.
Yeah, lots of thoughts. Yeah. Well, thank you for watching. It's our prayer that these are helpful videos, and that you can take them and do something with them, and that we've started a conversation, maybe in your own heart, maybe with others around you. But that's the whole idea. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Hi guys! We just want to encourage you to ring the bell, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, all the things.
Everybody, everything.
Because we love doing the content and we want to help get it out and about so that people can hear it as well. We do believe it's helpful and it helps all of us grow and change.